because just about every one of us has been out there listening to another human being talking and heard something that might have made us think to ourselves, this person is a fucking moron. Welcome to episode 8, Slowcabulary. Why? Because language matters, and in the age of Trump, Common Core, shallow trends, smartphones, and stupid people, language matters more than ever. And today we're going to reevaluate some of the grossest and most useless phrases in our Slowcabulary per my take. Shit we can purge, move far away from it, not pass on to the next generation. So let's get right into it. Go to www.darkninerecords.com, listen to and download all previous episodes of the study, my friends. Ever hear the phrase objective opinion? Objective opinion is first on the line of setting aside the fact that opinion by definition is subjective. Very few people to begin with are what I would call objective. This is the kind of shit that someone says when they want to sound like their opinion is coming from someone who knows their shit. And what do I know? I'm just here doing the best I can. But, Donald Trump, for example, does this every time he says, believe me or trust me. And believe me sounds like an objective opinion to me. In other words, a statement or idea that's not really worth a shit, but just wants to be heard anyway. Next up, almost forgot. People say this one a lot and it pisses me off. Not like fuck my day pisses me off. More like a come on, we're grown-ups, right? Kind of pisses me off. It's just one of those things that's not hard to understand. Nobody almost forgets anything. Their keys, where they put their ID, lighter, nothing. People forget things and then remember what they forgot. Almost forgot is what someone says when they accidentally says when they don't want to fall into the category of damn, I forgot. And likes the feeling of other people accepting the cow shit idea that they almost forgot. Definitely did not forget, just almost forgot. Came close to being one of those people who forgets, but I didn't officially cross over to the dark side. I just almost forgot. I'm good. Fuck you. You're not good. You forgot that shit. Accept it and move on. You're an adult now, so act like one. Next up, America has freedom. This is episode 8, Slowcabulary. Let's go. If freedom means anything less than I can do anything I want, including but not limited to grow my own weed, use it anywhere I want to, with anyone who wants to partake willingly, have free access to food, water, housing, clothing, and travel indefinitely, like have all that shit for good, then it doesn't mean freedom. It doesn't mean a fucking thing. It means there's some shit you can get away with and some shit you don't want to get caught up in. And if that's all it means, don't use the fucking word freedom, because freedom means freedom and not anything less. I'll quote a bit by George Carlin in Fast Forward for you. Here you go. It goes, there's no such thing as rights. They're imaginary. We made them up like the boogeyman. And if they come from God, why would God give us a certain number of rights? The Bill of Rights in this country has 10 stipulations, and we've had to amend the bill an additional 17 times. The British Bill of Rights has 13 stipulations. The Germans have 29. The Belgians have 25. The Swedish have only 6, and some people in the world have no rights at all. And rights aren't rights if someone can take them away. They're privileges. That's all we've ever had in this country is a bill of temporary privileges. End quote. In Fast Forward. In the final analysis, I would say no country has true freedom. I'm not picking on the United States. No country that I've ever heard of has had true freedom that I've, by my definition above, there has never been freedom. We haven't put down our flags yet. We're still watching the game. Next up on Slowcabulary is thank God. This one makes you unpopular real quick, but it's not real hard to explain, and you can disagree. That's not why we're here. I was raised Catholic and was taught that God is in all knowing, all powerful, and that nothing in this universe happens that God doesn't make happen. That's what I was taught. I was taught he is in everything and he is everywhere. Not that he's only in nice flowery shit. God is in everything and everyone, period. Atheists. Everyone. That's what I was taught in Sunday school. So it didn't make sense to me at all that certain things happen and God gets credit, like a doctor or team of doctors save a life and God gets credit. You know what I mean? Every, bullshit trophy ever won, the first thing they think. It just doesn't make sense to me. While there's suffering and starving and homelessness and all these things, how can it be that someone is looking out, like a being is looking out for some and not for others, and they be all loving anything? It just doesn't make sense to me. Next up, bless you, more specifically, God bless America. It's sort of back along the lines of the God thing, and the God ones are not hard to explain. They're hard to hear, but I'm not your fucking enemy. This one is real simple. Why the hell would any all-loving father bless one and just one of his countries, whatever the fuck a country is, of children at any time rather than all of them at all the time? You know what I mean? God bless America is one of those phrases that is truly worth nothing, and we can eradicate from our Slowcabulary. Moving on, episode 8, conscious, aware, woke. You may have heard this before. I hear not just conscious and aware and woke, but I notice many of these so-called woke folk calling others fake ass woke or something to that effect. The bullshit flies in both directions, apparently, all directions. And there's so many subjects and conversations in which these so-called conscious Muppets would be laughably incapable of participating. That it's illogical as fuck to me to say that anyone is aware enough to just say that they're aware or awake, as if they passed through some fucking physical reality into another at some point, and that there are others who haven't yet reached this level of wokeness that you have awarded yourself with, that so fucking real that you get to say who's woke and who's fake woke. More Slowcabulary we can put in the shitter where it belongs and flush. Moving on, value. Cost. We're going to talk monetary and a little bit of resource, cost of resource. When people say words like value and cost these days, I'm usually sure they mean how many dollars. But being language that I can't accept, I would like to see more people engage in different conversation when the subject of value comes up. Let me give you an example. If you go to Amazon.com right now, you can find Justin Bieber's Purpose album for $13.49 on MP3. You can also find Dead Prez's Let's Get Free album for just $9.99 on MP3. So one is valued at $13.49 and the other has a set value of $9.99. I'm just wondering, by that logic, then does that mean that Justin Bieber's project, the overall body of work and content, has more value in it than the overall body of work and content on Let's Get Free? Because that doesn't make any sense to me. I might be biased. I'm definitely biased, but that doesn't make any sense to me. Or is it a popularity thing? Is it that the value or cost of these two particular items, being musical albums made in the United States, have correlation or has correlation to the value of the artist or the people generally responsible for the work found on the project? From the music to the lyrics, cover art, to the message and point of view, etc., shit like that. In other words, is Justin Bieber's work more valuable than Dead Prez's work because he's more famous? I don't know. Value, cost, Slowcabulary, and we haven't even begun to discuss the cost of resources used on these, for example, CDs and DVDs and cases and all the waste from old phones, computers, cars, refrigerators, all kinds of shit. We could talk about supreme fuckery that is humanity's current resource management track record. Humanity's current resource management track record for a long time. So we'll move on. Next up on Slowcabulary, what do you want to be when you grow up? This is some stupid shit you hear when you're young or when you've gotten old. And by old, I don't mean 25 or 30 or 40 or 60. I mean old and no fucking fun, no imagination, no skills ever relating to people outside one's own generation and conditioning. You know what I mean? Some people get old as fuck real quick before their 30th spin around the sun. And it's a stupid ass question because it kind of encourages, to my way of thinking, it encourages the idea that one thing to do with the rest of your life, whatever the fuck that means, starting when does the rest of your life begin? That one thing to do with the rest of your life, rather than the idea that there's a lifetime worth of discovery in this world, and committing to a life sentence at any one thing as a large brain, multi-capable, badass motherfucker, beat and broken down by the system, is limiting and criminal. Let's do away with What would you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up? Slowcabulary. Moving on. So what do you do? Sort of along the same lines. This is ego shit that I don't like to engage in and have a rather good time disrupting. And when it's not, it's the result of people who have no idea how to talk to people and simply just repeat common and polite chit chat and regurgitate it like a reflex at social events. So what do? They don't know any better. Let's see. I maintain a body temperature of 98.6 degrees consistently. I convert oxygen into carbon dioxide with very little effort. I can even do it in my sleep. I water the fucking plants when I can, when I remember. I eat mostly plants. What the fuck do you mean? What do I do? I know what people mean. They want to know what is the name of the company that writes your paychecks and what's your official title there, as if that defines a person. What do I do? I enjoy fucking with people that ask, what do you do, every chance I get. Next up, smart weapons. Veterans for peace would understand this. I could go on too long about this one and piss a lot of people off, but that's not why we're here. I'm just asking questions about some phrases that I strongly disagree with and believe with all my heart belong in the shitter. But let me say for now that I can't find the smart behind just about everything I've ever heard from every military, not just picking on the United States. Never heard anything that of things like nerve gas, bullets, bombs, and radioactivity producing more food, housing the homeless, feeding the hungry, educating the youth, or doing away with conditions doing away with conflict between people with pride and artificial borders. I've only ever heard of those things spreading suffering, pain, and death. And anyone who's looked into organizations like Veterans for Peace that I mentioned earlier can identify with the crazy notion of ending war, can understand that the smart thing to do is to stop the killing, to stop the lies, to stop passing on to the next generations this exceptionalism and killing in the name of supposedly fighting terror and protecting freedom. Smart weapons are books, documentaries, audiobooks, the public library. Those are smart weapons to me, my friends. Slowcabulary, episode 8. Thanks for sticking with us. What is your favorite this, and that? Or what is the best this, and that? Which is the best? This one troubles me in general, but particularly in hip-hop. I'm going to go that direction because hip-hop, more than any other culture of that produces music, prides itself on professing knowledge and what some call consciousness or awareness. Going back to those two words. And hip-hop is no less subject to occasionally being full of shit than any other culture. Or any other kind of music. So the idea that anything as subjective as art is better or the best compared to any other artistic product or idea with certain similarities like flow, beat, cadence, wordplay, etc. Again, we're talking hip hop and rap music in general in this case. It's all opinion and pure bullshit. So, that needs to be done away with. I would like to see an award show where, for example, instead of saying the best new artist or the best video or the best this is and that or, anything like the top, they would just say, this year's award for this goes to that, because you're just presenting the award from you to this person. You're not calling them the best anything. Next up, a tough one to swallow, so stick with me here. I'm not your enemy. When people say my mom was my dad too, or my dad was my mom too. Now, one thing that really bothers me is when kids have to suffer for the mistakes of other people. And that being said, I used to think that a single parent was somebody who's raising a child and the other biological is completely out of the picture, either through death, accidental, sickness, or anything, and is just gone or is incarcerated and or just completely out of the picture, like just one person full time. That's what I thought single parent meant. But as I get older and get to know more people in depth, the term single parent kind of like it extends to many different situations. So I no longer understand really what it means to be a single parent. It's not something that I can say that I understand too much. My beef with this particular phrase is different than real life situations that's going on, because the real life situations is losing sleep and stressing out. So what I'm debating is the semantics and the wording of my mom was my dad too and my dad was my mom too. It's another highly unpopular thing to even call into question the idea that if a person was in some way raised by what people call a single parent, again, I don't even know what that means really, that parent was both mom and dad. This is a real nice compliment to what many of us call single parents, and comes from a nice place in people's hearts. Whatever the fuck a nice place in people's heart means too. I get that, I really do. But what I want you to get is how grotesquely weak the wording is here. Everyone who might be called a good parent by more than a handful of people know that the unique set of experiences, values, and knowledge that one person can pass on to another person vary greatly from person to person. That being said, if you take what some might call the best of one parent in the form of childcare, attention, advice, support, etc., and give it to a child, that child's life is better, and so are all the other children around it, because of that very unique set of gifts bestowed upon them by that unique individual. And accepting the notion that the one parent, in the event the other parent is in some way out of the picture completely, can somehow replicate the unique gifts and experiences that are the best, that would have been the best that the other parent could have provided if they had only gotten a chance or chose to stick around and gave their best, is silly as hell. One parent can give the best that they can do 24 hours a day and not have anybody else to depend on. That's more realistic language to me. But I don't agree in any way, shape, or form that a mom can be a dad and a dad can be a mom. Men have no idea what it's like to grow up with female stress and vice versa. So it's kind of idiotic to me. No offense to anybody, hopefully. Humane slaughter. I just wanted to drop this one in real quick. You'll hear this one in the meat aisles and in restaurants, all over. And I'm just going to direct you to the video by Erin Janice on this topic and let her take it from here. I'm going to link to that in the description this video. Moving on. Episode 8, Slowcabulary. Thank you for sticking around. Karma. All right. There's a brilliant piece on YouTube by Jacques Fresco on karma, but let me say for now, I asked someone this year who was talking about some line that they can't cross or are afraid to cross because they worry about karma. And I asked, what do you mean by karma? Do you mean like if you cut someone off on the road that they could get pissed and fuck up, causing you injury or worse? Or that if you anger somebody and burn a bridge, so-called, with them, that if a time comes that you need their help and you ask and they'll still be pissed at you and refuse to help because they're still pissed at you, is that what you mean? And that's not what this person meant. They meant something along the lines of a higher power, to my best understanding. And a higher power, that's a whole nother conversation. Not enough time. Taking some kind of swing, that they meant taking some higher power taking some kind of swing at them with a sort of justice or whatever. The closest thing I can think of to karma is unexplained phenomena and causality, in which case what I'm trying to say is we either know the cause or we don't, but I can't think of any reason to believe in the kind of karma dished out by any invisible beings. Slowcabulary. Moving on. Animals were put here for us too. There is a time, not really that long ago, where I may have, been able to agree with this. I don't know about the wording, but I definitely would have been a human first, kind of thing. Like, let's deal with human problems. I ain't got time to worry about animals. That wasn't that long ago. But this particular phrase, present day, 2017, animals were put here for us too, with all the information that comes our way through our friends list, our the people that we I hate the word follow, but the people that we subscribe to on social media. This phrase has got to have at least new meaning to you or updated meaning to you. This is the kind of shit that comes from the Bible, unfortunately, that God created other creatures for us to use as we see fit. By us, I mean humans. Let's accept that God made all creatures, including us and the ones we eat. That means that he didn't just make them, he made them exactly the way they are. able to feel pain, able to suffer and cry, able to notice their babies being stolen from them, able to display psychological damage like cage madness, able to run away if being chased, able to kick and fight if being captured, and able to get all kinds of diseases and physical abnormalities resulting from life in places like factory farms. My question is, if God created the creatures we eat, which varies greatly from culture to culture and place to place, if he or she created them able to feel pain, and is all responsible for all creations, and by definition could have created them not to feel pain and suffering, why would God unnecessarily subject them to all the pain and suffering? That's my question. Most definitely doesn't sound like an all-loving God. Moving on in episode 8, originated, and the father, the mother of, the creator of, the innovator of, whatever you want to call it. It's not that hard to understand the concept that, for example, the last leaf of the furthest branch of the tallest tree is demonstrably connected to the root of that tree, which is connected to the soil, which is connected to all the other trees and plants. And the soil is also connected to the coastlines, to the water tables, and also so all the layers of the earth are connected, and even through all their post-Pangea shifting about. And we could go on and on about how this planet is made up of a bunch of, shit being held together by gravity that once floated all broken up in space. But I think by now you've made the connection that everything is connected. So there is no beginning or end to anything. There are only the processes and all the things we do and don't understand about them and their history. Moving on. Slowcabulary, support the troops. Never understood this one. Never understood support the troops. When we hear and read support the troops, I usually see it on bumper stickers, which sounds to me more like an order than an idea. We're never given any information as to how exactly to support the troops to the satisfaction of the people who seem to be asking us to support them. Do they mean to donate money? Do they mean to volunteer time? Do they mean to plaster the stickers any and everywhere we can? I really have never been told. Do they mean enlist? Maybe they mean all these things. Do they mean never saying anything negative about them, or only ever saying positive things about them? By the way, all the things positive and negative about the military and the pros and cons from whose point of view could be another episode. So we're not even going to get into that. I don't know how they want us to support the troops. Here's some things that I can think of can be done to show support for the troops. You ready for this? How about we take care of the rape crisis in the military that blames the victims and high fives the rapists? How about we have enough money for wounded veterans, just like we have money for new submarines and jets designed to kill lots of fucking people? How about we give veterans with PTSD and all sorts of mental and physical pain access to medicinal and recreational cannabis? I could go on. Slowcabulary, episode 8. My pet loves me. Don't want to piss people off with this one, but it's a hard thing to accept that our animals that we've lovingly captured and put in luxury cages, who get 3 predetermined squares a day, love those things. It's a stretch. I'm just saying, nobody can know for sure. So even saying that shit is just, it's a nice idea. I get it, but I can't accept it. It's classic. It's classic human projection. We're gonna wrap up Pledge of Allegiance with the Pledge of Allegiance before we piss too many people off. Again, something else we can go into a lengthy conversation about. But the Pledge of Allegiance, my only gripe I'll express about this one is that they teach it to kids who are too fucking young to understand what any of this shit means, and it's laughable because they teach people to regurgitate this shit before they even understand what they're saying, and that shit's sinister. I pledge. No 3, 4, 5-year-old who can start saying this shit and can be forced to say it every morning understands what a pledge means. They can maybe understand promise, but you've taught them to say pledge already and you haven't explained it. Allegiance. I pledge allegiance. They don't know what the fuck allegiance means. Ask them. Don't take my word for it. To the flag of fucking flag, silly ass shit, to the flag of the United States. The United States is divided into 50 states, into districts and cities and all kinds of nonsense. We're nothing but divided. We're anything but united of America. The word America, again, has very little fucking meaning like American, but the clearest definition I can understand is, top to bottom, North America, Central America, South America. That's America. And these are just these tiny little United States, which are divided of America. And to the republic for which it stands. What the fuck is a republic? What 4, 5, 3-year-old knows what a republic is? One nation under God. Which God? And what if the family doesn't believe in God? Indivisible. They don't know this word. It can be taught to them, but you've already taught them to say this shit. With liberty, another one of those Slowcabulary words that could have its own section that we're going to skip over. But liberty, what do you mean by liberty? That there are no jails, that there are no incarcerated in the land of 25% of the world's incarcerated people and only 5% of its population? Is that what we mean by liberty? And justice for Tamir Rice, for Philando Castile, for many other countless motherfuckers. For all. Not with 1 in every 4 homeless people being United States veterans and 22 United States veterans committing suicide every day. Not with, dirty business like Walmart and shit. So more Slowcabulary in the Pledge of Allegiance could be broken down. But my only gripe today, again, like I said, is they teach it to people who don't even understand what the fuck they're saying, and that's fucked up. Why would you want anyone to understand, like, repeating something they don't even understand? This has been episode 8. I hope I haven't pissed too many people off. Thanks for sticking around with me. www.darknightrecords.com. Listen to and download all previous episodes of the study. Check out the albums, check out the mixtapes, check out Long Dark Night, Back to School, check out the singles, check out A Better Place of Choice is Ours. Show some support. We take donations. We live in a monetary system, so we gotta make this money so we can travel, so we can keep making product and do what we do. I'll catch y'all next time on episode 9. Peace.